On that note, we will now be moving on quickly to the next panel discussion. This topic is about smart urbanization, integrating sustainability and growth. I'll quickly repeat the topic for the panel discussion right now. This is going to be about smart urbanization, integrating sustainability and growth. Like always, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be introducing our honorable moderator, and then I'll be introducing our speakers, and then I'll be requesting all of them to please kindly join me on stage together. Ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this session, we have with us today Shakuntala Ghosh, Principal Architect and Partner, Ghosh, Bose and Associates, and past Chairperson, IGBC, Kolkata Chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Ghosh has been actively involved with the green building movement since its inception. She's a qualified trainer and evaluator for GRIHA, an IGBC accredited professional. She's an empaneled architect with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BEE, which has initiated the Energy Conservation in Building Code, ECBC, and has been designated as Master Trainer for Improving Understanding and Promotion of ECBC. She's an accredited EIA Coordinator for Townships under QCI NABIT Accreditation Scheme. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now be talking about our speakers in alphabetical order, and then I'll be requesting our honorable moderator and speakers to join me on stage together. We have with us today Abhishek Dutta, Principal Architect, ArcOn Design. Abhishek Dutta has been innovating and exploring experimental design across spectrum from large schools, bungalows, affordable housing, to data centers, factories, facade design, and sculpture and conceptual art. He's presently serving as the Honorary Secretary, Institute of Indian Interior Designers, Kolkata, and has also been researching and teaching students of architecture in various universities and institutes all over the country. We also have with us today Anjan Mitra, Principal Architect and Urban Designer, The Appropriate Alternative. Anjan Mitra, in the last 3 decades, has explored various fields of design and planning. His search for responsible architecture and urban design in Indian context began through The Appropriate Alternative in 1992 in Kolkata. For him, research and documentation are also key components of a design process and helps to evolve context-sensitive innovation that results in a meaningful place-making. We also have with us today Arindam Ghosh, Principal Architect, Polaris. Arindam ji has over 23 years versatile experience and is the chief coordinator of all the projects of the firm and has been an integral part of the core design team of Polaris for the competitions like Eco Resort at Bishnupur, Interstate Bus Terminus competition in Indore, and Star Theatre, Asian Cultural Complex competition in Korea. He earlier had worked in Melbourne-based architectural firm O1A Architects on international projects as well. We also have with us today Ayan Shen, Principal Architect, Ayan Shen Architect, Urban Designers and Planners Founder. Ayan Shen orchestrates major projects in Kolkata, Ahmedabad, and New Delhi. His avant-garde design language synthesizes modernized colonial aesthetics with contemporary tropical expressions, accentuating Kolkata's local environment. His scholarly pursuits encompass public-private partnerships and urban challenges as well. We also have with us today Shashank Shahabadi, Principal Architect, Eastside Office. Shashankji founded Eastside Office, an architecture and interior design firm in the year 2017 that specializes in delivering bungalows, hospitality projects, apartments, villas, and office spaces, of course. Over the years, Eastside Office has evolved into a multidisciplinary design firm known for its design solutions across a diverse range of work and restoration and renovation of some noteworthy projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is once again set. The panel is over here. Can I request all of you to give a huge round of applause for our panelists as I request them to please kindly join me on stage. Can I have our panelists on stage? Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, City of Joy, make some noise and let's spread the joy. Can I have some more appreciation coming in from everybody? Thoda zor se haath tali, please. That is what we do for our panelists over here. I'm sure they're going to be motivated all the way more with your encouragement. Thank you. All right, ma'am. Over to you now. No, it's fine as per the order over here. And can we please update the timer? Thank you.
So, good evening, everybody. I must congratulate Reality Plus for holding this very interesting session on smart urbanization, integrating sustainability and infrastructure growth, and for including a whole panel of architects and urban planners in this discussion, because unfortunately, as we have seen, the whole smart urbanization narrative has pretty much sidelined, I think, urban planners, and it's got a more technological focus, which has had mixed results. So I think what the structure we're going to follow is that I will ask the speakers one by one to give their thoughts on the topic, and then we will have a panel discussion, interactive, and then questions, if any, the audience wants to ask. So I'll start with you, Ayan, and tell us your thoughts on this topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Realty Plus, for organizing this panel discussion. The topic is interesting, but I think it's important to understand that need of the topic and the need of this whole subject is beyond the role of just an architect or a developer or a public sector, but it really involves the city and people at large to understand that today at a very macro level, the smartness has to follow in making the city holistically feel at one entity, but also have its sub-districts, sub-neighborhoods feel to make the smartness happen at a macro level also. What I mean is that the large city of Calcutta, for example, has many neighborhoods, many zones, many parts of the city, and each part of the city has a different need and a mechanism to make it smart. And I think one of the aspects of smartness is to enjoy fantastic public infrastructure system, which I think slowly is happening in Calcutta with all the metro lines and several things being made. But I think to take each segment of the city separately, in planning its natural resources, its public mobility system, that macro perspective is of key importance, which means that based on that, public sector needs to participate in tweaking the bylaws. The neighborhood activation needs to happen because there's a sense of place for everything. And at the same time, when you're looking at a real estate project at a very micro level, the design of this project has to be not only smart in terms of checklisting all the green building requirements, but it has to be catering to the sense of place of the city. It should be a project that is made in Calcutta for Calcutta. The spaces should be planned with enough semi-open spaces, which is really the need of a place. Housings can have in large courtyards, and even large apartment projects can be in a courtyard style and have more positive central space and a lot of green and blue, which I think many contemporary real estate projects are taking care of. But I think when you're looking at the very large fabric of the city, the need and the excitement towards conservation, adaptive reuse, the need for making the smaller 4 kata, 5 kata projects also make of semblance will absolutely improve the average quality of built form and make our products much more marketable in the actual sense of it, not just from a superficial sense of it. And I think all of this put together, then you can plug in your technology and you can do all about services as not to leave that technology aspect behind. But I think it's really the typological understanding and technological understanding that brings the true smartness. And I think for that, I'll probably let the conversation move on.
So I think that you have just brought it in a nutshell, in the sense that a city, the soul of the city, is quite a complex dynamic of many different factors, and one has to address all of those. And once you have done that, then we can bring in the technology. But the technology in itself is not enough at all to ensure the outcomes that we are looking at. So Abhishek, over to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I believe that smartness has to be defined, because smartness to me can be wearing this comfortable dress. Smartness for Arindam can be looking really smart by having a suit and boot and everything. So for Anjan, it is to make his image the way connect with his thought process. So everybody defines smartness in his own way. When it comes to city, somehow the definition of smartness is being defined by certain agencies who are direct beneficiary of spending in the name of smartness. So, and it is not a wrong thing for anybody to lobby for their own interest, because design in urban design or city planning, these are all basically a multi-player game. And here, good evening, sir. So here, every stakeholder has his own interest in mind. So if you give an architect to design an urban space, he will be trying to optimize it as per the aesthetics and the possibility of future projects. An environmentalist might be looking at a completely different factors. A person who is aged, he would be stressing upon the mobility of it, the smart mobility and ease of communication, security. So different stakeholders of a city takes the smartness, defines the smartness in his own way and tries to optimize it for this. For an administrator of a city, who are basically the decision makers, somebody like Mr. Devashish Sen, who is there, fortunately, for them, administering the city itself is a challenge. So if you ask him to design, although he being a senior member who has kind of taken care of many other aspects of it, but mostly for administrators, they would like to have the city designed in such a way that the administration becomes flawless, it's easy to maintain. So all these aspects, balancing these all aspects are quite difficult. And it's not a very easy task to do for any individual stakeholder it is. What is most needed in defining this thing is the livability of the city dwellers. Because city, at the end of the day, are not merely the infrastructure. City means the people who are dwelling in the city. It is for the people. So what Ayan was saying about the smart urban landscape, now there are concepts of vertical farming. You are doing a lot of things where you are incorporating green into it, and you are trying to improve the indoor air quality as well as outdoor air quality. So smart transport is a big step which is being taken in most of the developing nations in line with, because see, in the development concept, what is a very disturbing element is we have been blindly copying the development model of West, where this smartness in terms of at least their resource utilization, you cannot call any so-called quote-unquote developed nation smart in their energy usage or resource utilization. They basically waste in our terms. And we, coming from a non-affluent part of the society, in general, all developing nations has been scarcity conscious people. So our smartness is to optimize the use of resources. So those has been the challenges in many development models, which people are experimenting with different type of development models, but the focus of smart city, so-called smart city, has been technology-driven upgradation of city infrastructure without, in many cases, not in every cases, but in many cases, the technology, instead of becoming an enabler for the people to have a better quality of life, it has been a kind of government infrastructural expenditure. The focus has been on that. We see putting a lot of CCTV cameras, definitely it gives to the security of the city. But at the same time, if you lock all your urban parks at 8 p.m. for the maintenance of this, for the just to avoid having somebody who is in charge of it, you have a beautiful fountain in many part of the city where a big water body is there, but the parks are closed at 8. And when I go back from my work at 8, I can't walk my dog there, I can't go with my kids there. So what's the point of creating this thing? And it is operational exactly when my office is operational. So we are not thinking of all the stakeholders. My kid doesn't have a place to play safely. So what about those things? And agedly people, they are in the Salt Lake, in our vicinity, it has become a city where most of the people are left, most of the aged people are left there. Their next generation is outside the country. So what about the entertainment and applicability of them? So I think this line of thought of defining smartness in a more generic and more inclusive way, it's what our approach should be.
So that was a very interesting take on that. The soul and the people of the city also have to come first. So you talked about multiple stakeholders, and since Mr. Sen is here, I must say that when we were working on the Green City of Newtown with him, and he was heading the table, and the huge conference room was full of people from every single department. And he made sure it was there, because what you were saying, na, one hand is doing something, other hand doesn't know.
Optimization is all you have to do, because
Yeah.
the traffic guy will be thinking that make all the road straights.
But then he is controlling it. So
Yes.
that in the municipal corporations, they need to bring in that multi-stakeholder dialogue and then take the decision. So now we come to Mr. Anjan Mitra, and I am really looking forward to his take, because he is going to give us a googly on this topic, and we look forward to that, because that is going to enrich our discussions.
Okay. Actually, the topic, there are so many words that has been put together. Smart is a very misinterpreted, abused kind of a term. Urbanization, even it is far more vague. Urbanization for whom? Urbanization for, as Ayan is making a point of the stakeholders, Abhishek is also making the point of the people at large, of the livability, is a very interesting thing. And when we think of smart cities, is a most exclusive program that is kind of being promoted in the name of smartness. Then it is integrating sustainability and growth. Now, as if sustainability is something that is a product that you can buy. Sustainability in actually, it's an attitude, it's a practice. You have to make things sustainable. Sustainability doesn't lie in the products. It is the way you actually use it to make it sustainable for a larger kind of perspective. And growth is something else. Now, in this kind of a situation, I'll take this take, because we are addressing mostly from the real estate developers, is from an urban design point of view. Finally, we are talking about a space, we are talking about a context which has a cultural context, the ecological context, the environmental context. So whatever we try to put together should actually bring in something for the people or the citizens that lives in with it. Most of our housing requirements doesn't actually percolate beyond the higher middle income group. Most of our investment, most of our patterns are actually gaining towards that, leaving other areas to fend for themselves. In the name of gated communities, the large scale housing development, we are creating a kind of a micro city within the boundaries. So, Ayan was telling about the neighborhoods. That neighborhood concept is completely gone. Half the people, nowadays, earlier people used to build home knowing that the next generation is going to be there. Today, Salt Lake has become a senior citizen city only. And extremely insecure, because with age, the insecurity permits, and with that, a lot of other illness do persist. But our development plan and other thing is not thinking that Mr. Shen has promoted the senior citizens housing. That is a good concept, but it is for an extremely exclusive kind of group. Other people won't be able to afford that. Now, that is a kind of a situation we are building through design. In every possible design intervention is to increase the consumption. We have thought about the green building concept, everything. It's only because we are conducting this meeting in an area which is fully artificially lit, artificially ventilated, and as well as the whole concept of lifestyle has changed. That is why we are now creating heat islands. Now we don't know exactly how much of the areas to be paved. We are thinking about additional green space to start with. Construction demolition has become a menace. All these things is basically the kind of design. What we are not thinking, that within the development parameters itself there is a kind of approach to address the ecology, to address the nature, to address the local culture which is popular, and then build according to that, which is maintainable. Sustainability lies there. If it is can be maintained, it can be operated, and then not completely dependent on a technology to solve that. What is the kind of light you will be saying? All you need to switch off the light when you get out of the room. It is that amount of common sense. But people don't do that, so we are thinking somebody else will be taking care of all those aspects. Wastage of water, we don't bother. So if we really cut down the wastage and the unnecessary expenditure, probably we can definitely come up with a much more livable, sensible design approach. And that is my take on the major kind of shelter design or habitat design when we are thinking. And always we have to think about the public life in general. That has become very insecure in these days. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjan. That is the main thing that we have to look, I think, for the real estate developers here. It would be quite imperative for you to look outside your boundary wall and see the impact you're having on the larger scale. Even in the road where I live, fantastic luxury developments are coming up on the road, but what is happening is outside the road, the pavements are gone and there's no place to walk. So you're creating little enclaves of exclusivity in a kind of a barren scenario which doesn't have life, the life that is there in, say, European cities, where that public space, this is the most important thing for urbanization. Now I would ask Shashank, Shahabadi, please give us your thoughts on the topic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes, firstly, thank you for having me. And please excuse my limitation, my knowledge. It's whatever I'm saying is based on my observation. What I, like you correctly said, we live in our bubble where the real estate development within the society is great, but outside is not really inspiring. Same goes for me when my point from my house to my office is probably two great spaces I really enjoy, but my journey is quite uninspiring. But what I see right now in India's history, we are in the era of fast urbanization. We don't have a choice but to be smart. And in order to be smart, I think digitization and data-driven process is the only way out, where I not really completely relying on technology, which of course we can use it in order to make our systems and designs better. But I think all has to be backed by data. So we can use smart sensors, we can use heat sensors, maybe we can use rain density, or maybe we can use population control analysis, or including maybe air quality control. So this would actually enable us to design a little better coming to the future aspect. On that front, I also think digitization in terms of recording all these things is essential, because when you're sitting together, so you have a lot of data to process, and hence AI can come in handy. Where I see like a beautiful job in terms of crowd management we see during the pujas done by the Kolkata police, as well as the recent I had a chance to visit Kumbh. So all that management was only possible because it was a complete data-centric approach. And coming to smart urbanization, I think all of you have already highlighted the sustainable infrastructure model, but we can also think of smart grid as well, where how the energy is coming to our urban centers and how that can be done in a sustainable way. And of course, mobility and transport is one crucial aspect which can probably planned in a sustainable manner can reduce the air quality in our urban centers. Along with that, I think we need to focus on a more circular economy where we can, it's about, maybe we can think of recycling, reusing, and also retrofitting of the old buildings. And maybe we can also look at better waste management. So I think waste to energy conversion is one aspect where we can also look at in terms of smart urbanization and growth. And more than this, I think we as architects and designers, we can probably look at the tourism and the heritage conservation in our city, which is, I think, blessed with great architecture on any corners and streets you go across. Maybe couple of other points when we think of designing better infrastructure. is, of course, climate-resistant infrastructure, which comes to our mind. I think we have to be equipped with what's going to happen in the future and what we can't foresee. Be it maybe earthquake-resistant buildings to constantly changing climate. I think we need to adhere to those points. And like Ayan highlighted the equality and inclusion as well. Maybe apart from affordable housing, we need to have mixed income housing where like the affordable housing is not far off from our urban center. It has to be cohesive and it has to be together. And Abhishek pointed out about the green spaces and biodiversity. I think in urban scenarios, we are quite driven away from nature. And what is happening in the West is like the city is around the green bodies, the river bodies, the mountains or the beaches. Even though we have a fantastic riverfront, but we don't really have we are not making use of the water. And it's always noted and it's highlighted that people who live amongst nature tend to be happier. So what I see in my last 10 years of living in Calcutta, we are becoming less tolerant. We are seeing a lot of aggression on the streets. People are not able to walk. Of course, the climate plays in a factor, but we are not really helping anyone. We are not designing cities for the handicapped people. We're not making any infrastructure. So thereby, we make handicapped people feel more handicapped by it. We constantly make them more dependent. And what is happening is like we are living in our own bubble, which massive acres of land is converted into really beautiful high-rises, and we are all living in that ecosystem where we are getting far detached from the city. And it's again becoming a city of cars rather than city of people. So that's my proper understanding of smart urbanization, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's in a nutshell, very well encapsulated. We'll discuss further during the panel discussion. Now I would ask Arindam, please give your...
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for having me. So now the thing is that we are discussing about the smart city. And the point is that whether we are talking about smart city or smart citizens and smart behavioral changes, whatever we need to have, because from Ayan to Abhishek, everybody touched upon the basic things regarding the smart city approach. But I just wanted to know, because when we are studying architecture and built environment and all that, so at that time, that time we were all dumb, so that we are now moving towards smartness? Because the basic education regarding from designing a beautiful building, designing a space, all the fundamental approaches where we got education, those are all, I mean, the basic thing, and those are all, I think, very smart in that approach. So now the thing is that since we are talking about the recent scenario, and 60 to 70% urban population, I mean 60 to 70% of the whole world population are moving towards cities and having their livelihood near the cities. So we have to have a smarter technique, I mean, recently the development regarding AI and all sorts of things happen. So we have to we have to choose every technology and make these things happen in a efficient way, because efficiency to use that present whatever facilities, whatever functions we are taking from the modern science development, that has to be top priority. Like AI can predict some whatever the problems we will be facing in future. So that is also be taken care of, because predicting the future danger as well as the betterment, whatever we have to face in coming times, that has to be also taken, because from AI to to whatever, I mean, from those technologies and whatever things we are having right now. So for like, there are some aspects of smartness regarding the habitable spaces, and like there are some parameters. Like parameters means the living conditions, air quality, and to interior spaces. So those things has to be looked upon.
Thank you, Arindam. Actually, it's very interesting that there have been 5 panelists, and in different ways, we are all trying to go towards the same direction, I think. Even Anjan, even Shashank, you're coming from technological, and Anjan is coming from a different place, but it's like all religions leading to God. I think that we are trying to get to the same place, and that's very important. So my take on this is urbanization. It's like death and taxes. Urbanization is inevitable. I was in Lavasa, which is in the northeast of Mumbai yesterday, and just out of nowhere, these huge apartment complexes are developing, and they're like Great Walls of China. They're so big, these developments. So I don't think that whole space has ever been put on a drawing board, that should those buildings be there, where is the water coming from, where is the waste coming from. So the first thing, the most important thing in the urban aspect, I feel, is the vision thing. That what is the vision of the city? Where is it going? That is the first thing. And in that, the public has to be there, architects have to be there, the municipal heads have to be there, some framework. Now, many people are doing many different things, but it's not tying into a cohesive fabric. There are too many different things coming in, and then AI is coming in. So you talked about AI, but who is in charge of this data finally? Are they private players who are coming in and taking charge of all the networks of the city? AI is important. AI can help you with the traffic management. It can tell you, I think in Newtown already it's been done, when the waste bin is full, it will give a sensor. And so it can streamline, but it cannot undo all the wrong which has been done previously due to bad plan. So we have found all the faults in the system. So as architects and planners, what are we going to suggest to make the situation better? Like if you're talking about Calcutta. So let's talk about that.
So as I mentioned earlier, I think it's very important to understand this one size fits all is not the solution. You have to realize that today what was possible in Newtown, what is being done in Newtown, is because it was a new town with a reasonably strong authority putting all the thoughts together, whether it's at a micro level of a building or it's a macro level of a precinct. But to realize there are similar precincts with some advantages in various parts of our city. If you see the area between Southern Avenue and Rajbihari Avenue, there is a set of roads, it's called the Hindustan Park and Lake Road, etc. It's a fantastic precinct. You have a lot of small real estate projects happening there. It's organically developed into a fantastic mixed-use facility with moderately decent sidewalks, not the best in Calcutta, but relatively better. You have a park, you have a lake, you have a plethora of cafes, and you have a very vibrant facility. It was a planning done by Kolkata Imperial Trust years before I was born. So essentially, it's not some rocket science that somebody did. They had decent size of plots and some streets. They also have, by the way, some small slums-like development, which was apparently east, during the Bangladesh immigration, some settlement happened. But what I'm trying to say is that one has to identify precincts such as this, where a lot of developers are doing these G+4 facilities, and that is a neighborhood. In its unique strength, it has some challenges, it has some opportunities, and essentially that becomes then a precinct to deal with. Similarly, if you look at the peri-urban parts of the city where the planning districts are weak, I'm looking at, let's say, for example, an interesting real estate opportunity in South Metropolitan Bypass, a place called Kamal Ghazi, where there is a canal and 2 roads on site. There will be a unique separate challenges. I think once you create these as sub-planning areas and use some of the experiences from Newtown, and of course, I'm not saying copy-paste, but use those experiences and create sub-planning districts that will be beneficial for the real estate developer in terms of creating new credible destinations. But the idea, as you know, real estate is all about value and location. As a location from where? Location, if you always calculate from CBD, then you'll be basically traveling. So it's not. The city has a multimodal approach. All of us in Salt Lake, my small studio is located in Salt Lake. That's yet another world of its own, which has got a notional center, I guess today in city center, just because of its fantastic mixed-use character. And you'll have the, the swimming pool, and you have various other sub-nodes. So, and that has been planned. I mean, it's, of course, it has changed over time because of its organic mixed-use character. Of course, I think the Central Park is a bit of a missed opportunity with a lot of areas taken over. But then it's got bounded by canals. So I think every neighborhood has its own method of creating value, creating micro-smartness, and certain typological tweaks that might be able to benefit both the private player, but but you wish to make a better Calcutta in Calcutta. I think that era is gone where Bombay wants to be Dubai. Bombay now wants to be a new Mumbai in a unique way. And I think with a larger nationalistic fervor in the country, and even entrepreneurs talking about, let's make India great again. I think we were always very great, but that's besides the point. I think it's very important to go back and re-look at your own typology of courtyards. And of course, the best part of the city is North Calcutta, which most people don't understand, because obviously it's very messy and it's dirty and it's got a lot of traffic and congestion. But I think the typological resource that is in the northern part of the city is where we start actually learning from where a colonial typology fuses with the Indian typology. There's a fantastic waterfront right from of course, you have to see it at night, because otherwise you'll end up seeing the garbage more than the beauty.
Yeah. I think the blinking screen is telling us that our times are long up. So, although we thought that we are just starting the discussion,
No, but we can go on for...
this is what happens when you hand over the mics to architects. We all are so talkative.
Yeah,
but anyway,
we could go on for hours.
It means that we have to wrap up with 30 seconds or...
Okay, thank you for pointing it out. So, I think that we will...
add on the saying? I'll make it very quick. What I feel that it's very easy for us to sit in an air-conditioned space like that, which with an audience which barely represent the people of the city. And whatever may we tell here, it's not going to create an impact unless and until it is the public is integrated with this kind of forums. So what solution can be done is there are public forums. So public awareness campaigns has to be there, and the public has to participate in this thing. There are citizen charters in every city. There was a fantastic example in where in Delhi they had converted a dump yard into a fantastic garden, and the entire city environment and the pollution index all came in a very fantastically positive way. So we have to activate all our citizens charter by participation from all the stakeholders of a city development, and us architects forum, and maybe the urban designers and interior designers, along with the most importantly the city administrator. They have to frequently call for similar kind of forums and meetings where you take opinion from the public, so that the representation of those kind of forums can actually represent the entire the index of the people. And
okay.
And whatever we kind of suggest, it will never happen until and unless there is an economic benefit for any sort of development suggestion. Therefore, all these benefits, which are actually an externalities, where you are developing your boundary wall, the benefit is not, if you are painting your rooms, painting your house, the benefit is more to your neighbors. So you have to think of how to incorporate those internal externalities and incorporate them into internal price, because any sustainable development, until it reflects on the balance sheet of the developer in some positive way, it will be an expense. We have to make that expense into an investment where they get some sort of incentive which all the carbon credit system and everything is there. But I think I'm making it longer, so I'll cut it short and hand over the same thing in the similar. I'm sure Anjan will have a similar kind of thought on the how to make a positive impact in this kind of.
I think we will have to end here, huh? So make it 30 seconds, yes.
Okay, I want to just, what Abhishek was trying. First, in the real estate, we must break the boundaries. That is number one. 60% of Calcutta's economy belongs to the informal sector and the non-formal organizations. So we have to have that respect and responsibility while we are building something exclusively for someone, also has a share or stake as what we give back to the city. I think that should be the design agenda.
Very well said.
I think taking cues of from what you said, I think smart urbanization can give birth to smart entrepreneurship maybe. We can look at green economy, we can look at innovative hubs. What we can look at as a waste management in terms of, like an entrepreneur can probably do waste management. Not necessarily the burden has to go to the real estate giants, but yeah. So why not maybe, like, the maximum waste producers in terms of food producers are generated by hotels. What if somebody collects all the waste from the hotels and probably manages it? So there are several, I think, new economic corridors can open up just by urbanization. And I think not necessarily the burden has to be on the governing body or the people in the real estate, but it can be also on us. Probably if I have to change my profession and I know what I have to do later, so I can figure that bit out.
Parallelly, government policies and bylaws has to support the whole approach. That is foremost thing as well, because that has to be there, because whatever we are talking about, whatever we are thinking, that might not come into realization if that support is not there.
So I think let's take away from this discussion that at least all of us here will lay the seed for this to happen, that we approach the authorities and whoever to make it happen. And I think as far as the balance sheet you are telling about, that the developers have to look at maybe the balance sheet, the health of the grandchild may not show up on the balance sheet right now, but it will show up on the balance sheet sooner or later. So factor it in the next time you're trying to reduce the percentage of the tree area on your project. Okay, so with that, thanks very much, everyone, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause. And on that note, I request Annie Jain, Director, Design Circle, to please kindly come up on stage and give away the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers over here. Can I have a huge round of applause for our speakers and Annie Jain as well, please? Can I have everybody clapping? People over there at the back, can I request you to please clap and appreciate? Thank you. Let the token of appreciations be given uske baad. আমরা সবকটা টোকেন অফ অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশন আগে দিইনি, তারপরে আমরা একসাথে গ্রুপ ফটো করব। Thank you so much. We'll now do a nice group photo with all of you together. Please, if I can request all of you to please come forward over here. Ladies and gentlemen, that was about the fifth panel for the day, Smart Urbanization, Integrating Sustainability and Infrastructure Growth. Sustainability is truly the need of the hour. We need to think about the environment, and certainly this is a very critical point that needs to be noted. So thank you so much to all our speakers for shedding light on the topic. Thank you so much. Give them a big round of applause once again, please, if I may request. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you all once again the next year. Thank you.